Hello, hello, hello. I think we're live and I think we're streaming. I'm going to wait a second to see my live preview on YouTube just to make sure that it is working. But today we are going to be working on part 4 of the new platformer tutorial for 2025. And in this tutorial, we're going to add sounds, an auto tiling system so it looks more polished, and some tutorial signs to teach the player how to play. And I might have said that a little quickly. Tutorial signs, like signs that the player can read. So it looks like my preview's working. I'm going to change the resolution so it's not streaming at 4K anymore. So let me move that down. 480p is just fine for my little preview window. And I can move that over now. I'll move over my chat also. Now, the only worry I have is about being too loud, so I want to monitor my audio levels. I guess I'll move the chat all the way over so no one has to see that. There we go. Hopefully, my audio levels won't be too bad. So let's show you what I'm working on here. Okay, so last time we were working on this game, we had made a door system, and at that point, I had instructed people who were following this tutorial to remove their level 2. However, before I get started in today's tutorial, you need to pause the video if you're watching the VOD later, the recording later, and I need you to create 2 complete levels. Just design 2 full levels with doors that accurately place the player where they need to be. Remember not to have the player object inside the room because the player object gets created by our room code script. But what you do need to do is you got to go into our splash creation code and make sure that wherever, however you design the level, make sure you have an updated X and Y position for the start of the game for our player object. And then, design the level, add the fire to the ground, add some enemies, add some checkpoints, add doors that accurately go to where they need to go through the instance creation code here. So here I have it going to our level 2. Then over here on our level 2, I have the door going to our level 1. Make sure that's all working. And just have 2 fully designed levels before we begin. So let me play through the levels as I have them, so you can see what I'm working with. For one, I have the floor of level 1 to be a little higher, so the player character is more elevated than just being at the bottom of the screen. And it looks a little goofy now, but with our tiling system, it's going to make everything look really polished in a moment. So here I have the place where it'll teach the player to jump, and then here you have to hover, and then the player will encounter their first checkpoint. And then the player will encounter their first enemies. And then another checkpoint. Go to the next room. And then here, just some basic platforming to test the player's skills. So it's not completely polished, but at least it's working as a level so that we can do other things. So 2 completely designed levels before we begin. Also, we need to make a new script to house what's in our rsplash creation code, because this is going to expand as the game grows. And just like with our room code, we can add code here, a little script here, and then instead of opening up rsplash every time, we can just open up the script. So I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to call it initialize, and I'm going to copy all of this. Actually, I'm going to cut all of this, open up initialize, and paste it there. And then back to our splash creation code, I can just write initialize. Run the game to make sure everything is working. Yep, the game initialized. Very good. Everything's working, so now we can get started on our auto tile system. So to make an auto tile system, we need to import a tile sheet, a sprite sheet that works to create tiles that automatically know when it needs to be ground or floor or a wall or what have you. And I have provided a tile sheet for you. Very easy to import. Just go to sprites, create a new sprite. I'm going to call this S tiles and import the appropriate sprite. It'll be S tiles. It'll look like this. Don't need to worry about this, but I always just sort of habitually change that to 0. And now we are going to create a new tile set. So down where let me move my face. Down here is tile sets. You can create a new tile set and call it T tiles. So create, you can't see it because my face is blocking it, but over here, there we go. I'm going to call the tile set T tiles. The sprite, let's assign the sprite S tiles. And here we get to set the dimensions of our tiles. Right now they're set to 16 by 16 pixels wide and tall. These specific tiles are actually 60 by 60 to match the size of our O block object. And when I change the tile width and height there, it changes this nice and automatically. Very good. Now we can just open auto tiling. And here is where we are going to assign which of these little block sprites should be a ground or a wall or a corner or what have you. So to do that, we're going to create a new 47 tile set. You can look online to learn about 16 tile sets, but this is going to be a 47 tile set. You click that, and then you're going to see this. And what we're going to do is over here, the first tile we're going to click. In fact, I'm going to expand this a little bigger so that everyone, including me, can see. There we go. This is highlighted red, and when I click on one of these squares, it's going to fill in that spot with whatever tile I click. Now you start in the bottom right, click, and then you go to the top left that isn't the checkerboard, top left here, and then you can just click in order left to right, top to bottom. Give me one moment to do that. If you accidentally double click one of these tiles, it will assign that same tile to 2 slots, and all you would have to do then is trash the tile set and start again. It doesn't take too long, but I am pretty good at it. So now we have the tiles set. And also one thing I like to do is over here where it says auto tile, this is the name of the auto tile setup. I'm going to hit F2 there and just rename it to auto tile just so it looks more similar to my naming conventions in the game. Now I'm going to close this and close that. And now we can open up our level 1. Let that open up. And we're going to create a new tile layer. So here, create a new layer and select tile. And one thing that I like to do right away is first rename it. So I'm going to just rename it tiles. And then to place it, I'm going to place it lower. I'm going to place it right above collisions, or maybe right below collisions. What do my notes say? Okay, we've created that. We've renamed it. We've moved it to the bottom of collisions. Then over on the right, where it says no tile set, you can click that and assign your tile set. And then over in libraries, you can click auto tile, and that's how you're going to place these tiles. Now, if you're wondering, hey, where's my asset library? Over here, it's on a tab. This is the assets. This is the room editor. And when we've selected a tiles layer, the room editor changes to this. And if you're ever wondering, hey, these are the tiles, but where's the auto tile system? It's just under libraries, just to help you navigate this space. So we've done that. I'm checking my notes. Now we can paint the tiles in the room, but we want to paint them wherever there is these collision blocks, right? And it's kind of hard to see them, so maybe I'll place them above collisions. There we go. I placed them above collisions now, so now we can see where we're painting. So now you can paint them wherever you would like. So I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to start on the side walls. If you ever paint somewhere that you don't want it to be, just hold the right mouse button and delete it. You can also change the size of your tile paintbrush over here. I'm going to keep it at 1 for now. And what I'm doing is I'm painting this out. Tiles don't work outside of room boundaries, so don't worry about that. And then I'm not even going to paint the bottom because you'll see that I can just fill in this entire area. There we go. And yeah, we can leave it like this, or we can fill it in. I think it's more professional to fill it in. And as you can see, it's just making the game much more polished looking, this auto tile system. Now, good auto tile sheets. Let me turn down my gain a little bit. Good tile sheets have like grass for the ground and rock for the wall, or what have you. This is a very stripped down minimalist pixel art game, so that's why everything is just these white lines. But even as just these white lines, it gets rid of the block aesthetic and makes it much more polished, I believe. Look at that, it's looking much nicer. I actually might move the door in a little bit, actually. So do you know what? I'm going to do that because we are going to be... I'll do that later. I'll worry about that later. So I need to move over to our level 2. So I'm going to close this and open up our level 2 and do the same thing. I'm going to create a tiles layer. I'm going to rename it to tiles. I'm going to move it to right above collisions. I'm going to go over and assign the tile sheet and go to libraries and click auto tile. And once again, I'm going to paint over our blocks and fill in gaps. So take just a moment to paint all of these in. But this is why you needed to design your level first, so you knew exactly where things needed to go. And then here for the little platforms. Oh, accidentally painted too much. All right, and now we can go to O block and actually open up O block and make it so it's not even visible anymore. It's going to still be in there because that's how we're handling collisions. And we can test it out and see how it looks. Very good. Everything's working the same. It's just that now visually it's much more sleek. And we don't have to see the borders of every single block placed down. It's looking nice. But now what you can do if you're making a platformer is instead of creating your level with block objects, you can actually just create a level with your tiles. And if you want to use block objects for your collisions, then you can just put your collision objects wherever you would need the ground or walls to be, and then make it so that object is not visible right here. But do you know what? Let me make this invisible. These objects are still in the room. And they're objects, which means they run code. They have events, and that actually uses game memory. We actually don't need them to run any code. They're there just for collisions, and Gamemaker actually allows us to have collisions with a tile set, right? So we're going to do that, and then we're going to have to make some small level adjustments, but we can do that in a moment. We're going to go to OPlayer, and in the create event, I'm going to just say right at the very top, I'm going to say collision tiles, or collision tiles. I'm going to say collision tiles equals layer tile map get ID tiles. because that's what we call the layer, right? So this is checking for the tiles, the tile map associated with that layer in the room, and then gets its ID because GameMaker assigns IDs to everything and assigns that ID number to this variable name. And then all we have to do is go to the step event, go to collisions, and instead of having O_block here, just paste in that variable. Same here, right? And then also in the current status region, we need to do that. Very good. Test it out, make sure we haven't broken anything, that we still have collisions. Yes, we still have collisions, very good. We need to do the same for a few other objects. So let's go to O_bullet in the create event. I need to copy and paste it. So let me go to the create event here and copy this. Create event here, collision tiles. Then you can go to the step event and replace O_block with these tiles. Very good. And we always test the game, make sure that I haven't broken anything. So yep, our bullets are stopping where they need to stop. And then in O_enemy, let me reposition myself here. In O_enemy, do the same thing. Just copy and paste this into the create event of O_enemy. Then you can copy collision tiles, go to O_block and just place that here and here. Very good. Now let's check, make sure our enemies, excuse me, move the microphone a little bit. Let's make sure our enemies are not falling through the ground, that our enemies are still colliding with the ground. They are, so that is working also. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. Let's see. My notes, what did my notes say? Yeah. So now we can actually go to collisions. I'm gonna make the tile set not visible. We can go to collisions, and I'm just going to hold shift and like click and drag and delete everything except the door. Because these blocks, we don't really need them in our game anymore. Same with our level 2. Let's open that up. I'm going to make the tiles not visible. I'm going to select collisions, and I am going to hold shift and highlight everything and remove everything that's not the door. Keyboard shortcuts and a 3-button mouse speeds up things so quickly. I can do things so quickly. But now our player object will fall right outside the room if it keeps on moving after touching the door. So I'm going to close that. We want to make sure that our player object does not move at all during a fade in and a fade out, and not just taking away our inputs, right? At the very top of the collisions region, all we have to add, there we go, collisions. At the very top of our collisions region, we can just add if instance exists, fade, HSP equals 0, VSP equals 0. So let's test it out and make sure we won't fall off the side of our level. The thing with testing a game is that you end up playing it so much, you end up getting really good at it. And then when you have play testers play it and the game is significantly too hard, it's always a shock. So there we go. My character does not fall off the side of the room. And because the player's horizontal speed will never exceed the width of a door, or the amount of space that the player object can travel in one frame will never exceed the width of the door. I don't really feel the need to add any other precautions there. I think it's totally safe. So now let's add sound effects and music. Our game has been quiet for too long, so let's do that. I'm going to adjust my mic slightly. No, actually, that's working out pretty good. I want to make it tall enough so that I don't accidentally bump it with my hand. In a couple of tutorials I uploaded to YouTube, I bumped the mic with my hand and it's really loud and it's going to give a jump scare to anybody who watches it, but I just could not be bothered to re-record the entire tutorial just because of that mistake. I feel like I would re-record this tutorial if I bumped my mic too loudly though, because I do take a lot of pride in these Gamemaker tutorials. All right, to sound effects and music, we're going to create some sounds and import their respective audio files. Let's see, the sounds are again covered by my face, so let me move my face up here. Sounds are right down here. I'm going to create a sound and call this sound S&D checkpoint. Create another sound. I'm just going to create a bunch of sounds and name them. The shortcut is Alt-U, so I might use that. S&D explode. Let's see, Alt-U. It doesn't allow me to rename it. Okay. S&D hurt. I'm going to just keep all of these open. There we go. And then another sound. Create sound. S&D jump. Create sound. S&D move. Create sound. S&D music, of course, very important to have music. Create sound. S&D shoot. And now through all of these, let's assign the correct sound. So you assign it by clicking this little context menu button. Click that, and I have the sounds in the asset files. This is explode, so I'm just going to click explode. This is S&D hurt. S&D checkpoint. S&D jump. S&D move. And lastly, S&D music, or not lastly. Then S&D shoot. There we go. I created all these sound effects using a great online tool called, let me search it up, JSFXR, is that what it's called? JSFXR. Let me pull it up on my screen so you can see what it looks like. There we go. I guess the website is sfxr.me, but the tool is still titled JSFXR, and you can sort of procedurally generate a bunch of different sounds. And you just keep clicking, it randomizes it. Then you can download it over here. Very useful for pixel art games, for quick sound effects, quick and easy sound effects. All right, so we have our sound assets added. How do we add sounds? Well, first off, let's open our initialize script and our room code script and write, I'm going to write it down here. Oh, no comment. I'll just write music if bang audio is playing. So if audio is not playing, S&D music is the audio to check. Audio play, audio play sound, S&D music, 1 true. So this plays the sound, sets the priority. I don't have that many sound effects or music in my game, so I can actually set all of them to be 1. If you have a lot of sounds in your game, you might need to start worrying about the priority of different sounds, because some sounds can't be played after too many sounds are being played. And then for loops, I'm going to set it to true. Now, something you should know about this function, audio play sound, is that it will start a new instance of the sound playing anytime this code is being run. So if I were to put this in like a step event, it would create a new instance of SND music to start playing 60 times in 1 second, which would be cacophony, right? So we have to be so one thing I do here is I check if it's not playing, play it if it's not playing. It's one thing to check. But also just be very careful of placing sound cues in step events, because it will check this code once every frame of your game. So in this tutorial, I've managed that. I'm not going to try to explain for certain sound effects how it works to make sure it's safe and not creating 60 new instances of the music or the sound effects that we use. I'm going to copy this and actually also paste it into our room code. Make sure it always plays no matter where we are. So let's play the game. And our music is playing. For the jump sound effect, we can open OPlayer. I'm going to answer chat really quick. So this is a platformer tutorial that I'm recording. This is part 4. My prototype is just my own personal game project, and I am not remotely done with it. Not remotely. I'll probably be working on this prototype for the next few months. Anyway, back to this platformer tutorial. For the jump sound, we can go to the ground jump section that is under vertical movement, ground jump right here. And then the key jump condition right here that actually allows us to jump. We can add a sound effect. Sound effect. And we can write if bang audio is playing SND jump, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, audio play sound SND jump 1, and then loops false. That's our sound effect. Now, note, this code only runs during 1 frame, and so it'll play the sound effect. If I had placed this like up here, it would repeatedly play the sound effect. So this is a safe place to put this code. So let's test it out. It's very subtle, but I can hear it. For the moving sound, we can close out of this region and open our sprites region. And we are going to find if on ground, the if on ground else section. And where it says image speed here, we're going to create a new line and write, you guessed it, if bang audio is playing SND move. I'm going to just do it all in one line this time. Audio, play, sound, SND, move. 1, false. And now let's test out the movement. It's subtle, but I can hear it. Sound design can sometimes or often be subtle, but one thing I'm noticing is that the music is just too loud. So all you have to do in that case is open up sounds, open up SND music, and right here, you can actually adjust the gain or the volume of the music. I'm going to move it down to 0.6. And now listen to the music. It's going to be significantly quieter. Very good. That's much more like background music. Very good. For the shooting sound effect, let's open up OBullet in the create event. Because the create event only plays 1 time anyway, it's totally safe just to write audio play sound. SND shoot 1 false. And then for O explosion, create event. audio play sound SND explode 1 false. So now we should have firing sound for the bullets. Now we need to see an explosion. Actually, there's an explosion if my character dies, right? So let's just get some, there we go, little burst sound effect. For the checkpoint sound, open up checkpoint in the step event where it sets everything and has the little screen shake. Add audio play sound SND checkpoint 1 false. Let's test it out. Anytime you make changes to your game, you should be testing it, making sure you don't introduce bugs. Yep, makes a little sound when I touch an inactive checkpoint. Now for the hurt sound effect, for when our player gets hurt, let's go to health, where it says invuln timer. We're just going to add right here, audio play sound SND hurt 1 false. And now let's check it out. This is our last sound effect. We get hurt. Little sound. Very good. That's all of our sounds and music, actually. So now we have a much more alive feeling game with the sounds. Now, assign system to give instructions to new players for how to play the game. We need signs, and it should be pretty easy to implement in our game. We're going to create a new sprite, call it sSign, and import the images. Let's find the images. sSign would be QRS. There we go. sSign 0, sSign 1. Open those. Set the FPS to be 2 FPS, and then a bottom center origin. So it'll look like this. It'll blink a little question mark to get the player's attention. Found in pixel art games, blinking is very useful to get players' attention. Players never look or read where you think they'll look and read, but blinking is great for that. Now, let's create a new object. Call this object oSign. Assign the appropriate sprite, sSign. And then we are going to, oh, actually, forget that. Let's delete that. I forgot that this is how I do it. We're going to just duplicate O checkpoint. So duplicate O checkpoint and call it oSign. Change the sprite to sSign. And this way, we can basically use all of our code in our checkpoint object except without a checkpoint. We're going to keep the create event code exactly the same, except we're going to alter the text y variable to 150, just so the text is significantly higher above the object. And then text, we're just going to put test text, please ignore. In the step event, remove everything except show text. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. I forgot that I have this system, show text equals place meeting. So if we're touching the sign, show text is true, and if we're not, show text is false, which is hilarious. It's not that way in my notes, which is funny. Oh, but I also need to keep the sound and the screen shake. All right, so what I will do is change this, just delete all this. And I'm going to just alter this to be if place meeting show text equals true, because I want the little sound effect also and the screen shake. And then else show text is false. And then I can delete this. Very good. And then draw. This is all just drawing the text, right? So we can now place our sign in our room and customize what it says. So I'm going to put it on the checkpoint layer because it kind of works like a checkpoint. And let's move in a sign close to where the player is going to spawn. Turn off the grid so I can place it exactly pixel perfect. So right now, if we run our game and go to the sign, ugh, right, that sound effect is not working. You can see what happens if you don't manage your sound effects properly, right? I'm going to add a quick, all I would have to do is this. If bang show text, meaning if show text is false, I'm going to move this over here. This way it runs only one frame. Screen shake. And then the sound effect. This will first check to see if show text is set to false, and if so, it'll play the sound, it'll shake the screen, and then put show text to true, and that way this doesn't keep re-triggering until we leave. There we go. Very, very good. I want to move this slightly over here because I want it to be seen when the player first boots up the game. There we go. Now to customize this text, just double click on it, click creation code, and customize it, but just writing text equals left key and right key to roll. Run the game, see what it looks like. Now our sign is getting a little bit big, so let's add a line break, left key, and then I'm going to do a / and an N, and this character that I'm highlighting right now is a line break, so it will add a line break right there. Yep, looking much, much better. All right, let's add a few more signs and a few more instructions. For instance, we can put a sign over here to teach the player to jump, right? Because the player will be rolling and stopping at this wall. Let's put it right here and open this creation code. Text equals space bar to jump. And then over here, where we want to teach the player how to fly or hover, we can add a sign and write text equals hold space bar line break / N to hover and fly. Note how I'm not adding a space before or after this line break because I want the line break to happen immediately after the R and not to have an extra space after the new line break. So let's see that. The system is very adaptable, so now you can add signs wherever you want in the game to tell the player things that you want to tell them with just one object. That's actually it for today's tutorial. It was pretty quick, wasn't it? In the next video in this tutorial series, we're going to add a title screen, a saving and loading system, and some visual effects. So when that gets streamed or uploaded, I think you should look forward to it because it's going to be fun. That's it though, so thanks for watching.